everyone, welcome to Ask an Armourer. My name's Kia, and this is Duchess, and today I'm going to be continuing to show you how to do diagnostics on a foil that you might not know what's going on with it, or if you're just wanting to do a general maintenance checkup before you go to a tournament, practice, whatever it may be. So this is the companion piece to the visual check video that I've put up, and in this one we'll be focusing on using a test box and body cord to check out the electronics and interior workings of the foil that we might not have been able to see in the last one. So for this, all you're going to need is the blade in question, a test box, and a body cord. Now for the test box, I'm going to be using this slightly older model from Absolute. It doesn't really matter at all what test box you use, so long as you are comfortable with it and have the instructions to know what the various inputs, the various outputs are and what they're telling you. But this is the one I've been using for years. It's not let me down, so I'm going to keep using it for this one as that's what makes me comfortable. And also for the body cord, I am actually using my octopus style cord, which I really just prefer to use because typically I'm not just working on one kind of weapon or one kind of connector. So this is just easier for me. It's got the three major types of connector that I see across North America, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this. But if you're just working on your own, you can just use your body cord. The most important thing is to know that the body cord is actually working, because we don't want that to inadvertently cause more confusion as we're trying to see what the foil is doing. So the other thing that you can have at this point is the 500 gram foil weight, as testing the weight is something that is a very common failure at tournaments, but doesn't really show up at practice at all, so it can be really hard to tell until you're actually there and get a yellow carded for your foil not passing inspection. So I don't actually have my 500 gram weight here now, but I will show you how to test that here so that you can just follow that process later on. And then finally, if you're doing multiple at once, you might want a pen and paper to make note of what issues are happening in which one, if you want to do all of the diagnostics first and then go to repairs later. If you're just working on one foil at a time, it's not as necessary, but could be helpful as well if it has multiple problems that you need to keep track of, or if you're making note for somebody else or just yourself in the future. Excuse me. Using it though is entirely up to you to see what you're most comfortable with. Hi, Duchess. So the first thing you need to do is to plug your cord into your test box and into your foil. Now, you'll immediately notice here the light has come on the test box. This is a good sign. As you might recall from my video on how the circuit for a foil works, is the foil actually is interesting in that it starts in the on circuit position, as opposed to the épée, which starts in the off position. So the light coming on is what we want to see. This indicates that at least at the base state, the foil is working as we would like it to. If the light didn't come on, this would indicate somewhere that the system is either just not connecting at all, it doesn't even think that there is input, or it thinks that it is constantly having the tip depressed, that it is constantly in the off position. So those are kind of the two things. It could be from a dirty tip, from the insulation not being removed correctly from the wire before it was put into the connector, or it could be a whole variety of other things. I'll have another video going into that more specifically later on. But for now, this is a good start. So now, to complete our base test of the state of the foil, we're just going to depress the tip. And the light goes off, which is exactly what we want to see. So I can remove my thumb and the light comes back on, depress, and it's pretty steady, which we like to see. So that is exactly how this test box records it. Again, double check the instructions of yours to ensure that it is the same system, but it should be pretty similar across all of them. So great, we have at least the base test is okay. We have further testing to do, but we're off to a good start. So it's at this point that I would go ahead and take my weight, if I had it, and I would make sure that the spring inside was good to go. As I mentioned before, that's typically really hard to see as you can't really feel that when you're fencing and there's no visual indicator of it. So it's important to double check it each time. So what you would do with that one is, again, have your foil plugged into your box. You would take the 500 gram weight and gently place it onto the tip. Don't just drop it because that will be bad for it, but gently place it on. Then what you're going to do is just depress it enough that the light goes off and then release. If the light comes back on and is holding steady, that's an excellent sign. That means that the weight is in good shape and is doing its job correctly. If the light does not come back on, if it just stays depressed, or if it's kind of shaky, then that indicates that the weight spring inside here needs to be replaced, as it is no longer going to pass inspection at a tournament. So now that we have determined that the base state and the spring are okay, it's time to see if there's any hidden issues with the wire. So for this, what you're going to want to do is set your foil down on the ground so that you don't have to worry about yourself supporting the weight. You're going to depress the tip with your thumb, and you're just going to wiggle it back and forth a few times. Try to get a bunch of different angles, the kind of ones that you would see as you're fencing, as that will be what sets it off. So this will force the wire into a variety of different positions, both in terms of the stretch along it as well as its relation to the barrel, the sides of the blade, etc. And this will tell us if the light flickers at all, that there is some issues with the insulation that need to be pursued further. Unfortunately, typically insulation issues mean that there is a rewire that needs to be done, but sometimes you get lucky and it's just a dirty tip or the barrel needs to be tightened. There's a few different things. Again, I'll go into more detail in a different video specifically about that later on. So for this one though, the light was holding nice and steady, so that means that our wire is in good shape all the way along here and that we should be set to go. I don't typically do the bend test down near the tang, both between the fact that it doesn't really see a lot of bend and the blade itself is so much thicker there, it really can't be bent as much. So I just focus along here. As most foilists will tell you, most of the bend of a foil happens within the top third of it anyways. So that's where we want to focus for that bend test. Now, the final thing that you might see on your test box is if the light comes on but doesn't respond to the tip at all, like it just stays on through the entire thing. If this is the case, it means that somewhere the circuit is grounding out, meaning that the electricity just is allowed to flow in the constant state of it is right now. It's always on. So this, again, probably an insulation issue, could be a dirt issue if there's something conductive in there. It could be the wire is just, there is extra wire in the connector that is forcing that to stay on all the time. There's a variety of things. You'll hate me for this, but again, I will have another video exploring that completely in depth later on. But for now, this foil looks like it is in okay shape again to put back together, get the tape back on, and it's ready to go. And that's how you do a general maintenance checkup of your foil using a test box and body cord. Combine this with the visual check that we did in the other video, and you should be able to have all the tools that you need to know the issues and fix it, or find somebody else to help you fix it, but you can describe the issue quite clearly to them. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please be sure to like and subscribe, and as always, if you have any questions, comments, or other topics you'd like me to cover, let me know down below. See you in the next one. Bye. Bye.